Look, I don't know if you're a fan of plot twists, but Antony ghosting Man United for Real Betis was an absolute cinematic masterpiece. From basically being a punching bag in Manchester to actually turning himself into the GOAT. And while that was a big joke everyone made about him just a few months ago, now it's an absolute fact. I mean, he won't win the Ballon d'Or, but I think his presence is guaranteed if Betis win the Conference League after his stellar performance against Fiorentina. One thing that is absolutely certain about Antony at Betis is that he never lets his team down. In fact, that has become a consistent trait for him over the past few months since his arrival. He always gives his best and is one of, if not the best player on the pitch in almost every game. I mean, just look at his performances for Betis. He's made exactly 20 appearances for Betis so far, and according to fotmob.com, has only finished 3 matches with a rating below 7. Just 3 games in 3.5 months. And it gets even better for him if we just look at his stats for the last 10 games at Betis. Realistically, there's only one bad game for him, and that was against Barcelona. Apart from that away game in Catalonia, it's all green. And, interestingly, he's recently started to deliver in the games that matter the most. Yes, the winners against Fiorentina in the first and second leg semi-finals, which was also against his former teammate, David De Gea, and that swerving shot against Espanyol further strengthened his reputation. In fact, the love he receives from everyone in the team, including the sporting directors, especially Joaquin, is so deep and unconditional that the Betis legend even joked that he'll drive the car if that's what it takes to kidnap him from Manchester United. Just look at the devotion he has for Antony, because it's clear that the respect and attention he receives, it's not just for his performance on the pitch. After all, 11 goal contributions in half a season, it's not something exactly out of this world. But Antony's impact on the team's resurgence, it goes far beyond just raw statistics and on-field display. Whenever the cameras show him, he's always laughing with the boys. For example, there was that video of him and Isco appearing together and joking in a promotional video for Betis' official sponsor, or also the time when his teammates Marc Bartra and Chimy Avila were trying to replicate his trademark spin. In fact, his influence went even beyond Spain, as even Juventus players tried to do it. Do you understand how influential this guy is now? Really? From acting and being described as a complete clown to actually being respected and even seen as a role model by the younger players. I don't know about you, but this situation really makes me think of the popular streamer Speed and his influence on the younger generation. No, really. Can you think of any recent resurgence that can be compared to Antony's at Real Betis? The two that come immediately to mind are first Rafinha at Barcelona, from being on the brink of the exit door to being tipped for the Ballon d'Or, or Scott McTominay, from being hated at Man United to now being a few points clear of the Serie A title with Napoli. You can see the strange thing here. In 2 of these examples, Man United are the ones being ghosted, and while the McTominay case is now closed following his permanent departure from Old Trafford, Antony could still be of use to the Red Devils, in theory. In practice though, I don't see it happening. Antony looks comfortable at Betis, and only a miracle would save him from being mocked and hated upon his return to England, if it indeed happens. But at the end of the day, all due respect to him, but he has to be the most stupid player out there to even allow circumstances to develop in this way. So, the big question arises, what prevented him from delivering for United the same way he does now with Betis? Well, if we ask the man himself, Ruben Amorim, he'll tell you the following.
If you don't have physicality, you struggle a lot. And we talk about a lot of players that we had. Antony is so much better now in Spain. It's a lot of factors, but I guarantee you it's the physicality.
Okay, so let's say Amorim's comment makes sense. Can you really believe that the level of physicality in La Liga is so much worse than in England that it could be the main factor in his misery at Manchester United? Because I'm a little skeptical. Antony's agent has since hit back, claiming, "We respect the opinion of coach Ruben Amorim, but we completely disagree with his analysis." To attribute Antony's lack of success at United solely to physicality is a very superficial argument, and it doesn't reflect reality. Yes, I think that makes more sense. Even if physicality does contribute to the problem, you just can't convince me that it's the one and only factor. So, here's my view of the situation. Mentality. Look, there are players with different types of mentality. Some might be extremely talented, but then, when the big money comes, they stumble under the pressure. And then there are those who just don't care about the circumstances. Take Lamine Yamal, Jude Bellingham, or Desiree Doué, for example. These kids are literally destined to conquer the world, simply because they were born with a winning mentality. Nothing can really stop them. We've all seen the kind of performances Yamal has delivered on the biggest stage on a number of occasions, even before turning 18. Then there are players like Antony, and I can assure you that the heavy burden of those 95 million euros paid by Man United in 2022 has had a negative impact. The whole world knows that the Red Devils overpaid by a huge margin. I mean, even the then Ajax CEO and legend of both Ajax and Man United, Edwin van der Sar, admitted that the Red Devils overpaid for Antony. So, even when your former bosses admit that you're not worth 95 million euros, how can you ignore their words and perform with peace of mind? Although it's overlooked, this is one of the most difficult tasks for any athlete. And now that the distractions are long gone and he has the freedom to express himself, he's slowly becoming one of Betis' most influential players. Not only that, but his agent has stated that he is one of the best players in the Liga since he arrived in Spain. That really speaks volumes about Antony as a player. Now, one more thing. Let's hypothetically pretend that his time at Man United never really happened. Those 2.5 seasons simply do not exist. Now, if we put things like that, we can really see the true value of Antony. At the end of the day, maybe those are the perfect conditions for him. Maybe he's not destined to be a world-class player, to be put in the same sentence as the best players out there. But perhaps he feels most at home in clubs like Ajax and Real Betis. He knows he can be a leader, but only at teams where the pressure is not as great as it is as Manchester United. Because if we look at the performance of the team since his arrival, it's wild. Firstly, let's take a look at the La Liga table between the start of the season and the moment Antony stepped at the Benito Villamarín. His first game for Betis was at home to Athletic Club on matchday 22. So, let's take a look at the form between matchday 1 and matchday 21. As you can see, Betis were 10th place at the time, 6 points off 5th place, which guarantees direct qualification for next season's Champions League. Now, if we take the period between matchday 22, Antony's first in the Liga, and matchday 34, which is the last one played before this was recorded, we can see that Betis are not just in the top 5, not just in the top 3, they're sitting quite comfortably in second position in these 12 weeks since Antony's arrival. You might think this is just stupid, but we can comfortably say that if the season started in February, Betis could have challenged for the La Liga title. Obviously, this is not possible, but it shows us that Antony's influence is clear and obvious. But that's not all. This season, the Spanish side, they have the chance to win their first European trophy if they manage to beat Chelsea in the Conference League final. And even if they don't lift the trophy, a place in the final is still a huge achievement. As Betis, they've never made it this far in Europe. Some might call this a coincidence, but as we've just said, Antony's impact is right there, and we can't ignore it. So, what's the bottom line, guys? Well, in our books, it's obvious that Antony and Betis, they're just made for each other. It just makes sense. And the way Joaquin talks about him, and the way the fans praise him too, you can be sure that Antony has a good chance of staying permanently, even beyond his loan spell. The only question mark here is again Manchester United. Would they be willing to let him go for a fee in the region of 30 to 50 million euros? Share your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, or just go straight to our next video, in which we discuss how exactly Arda Güler solved Real Madrid's midfield issues. Catch you there.